Welcome back to the next TIG Vibration Agenda episode. And today I am esteemed to have experienced people in this field. First of all, we're going to have a theme that is, has the media represented the children well in Uganda? I am Elizabeth Kisaka, the host of today. Today we are having Mr. Brian Chimbugwe, that is the TV producer of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. We are having Mrs. Irene Namudu, a TV editor, Miss Patricia Nandago, a journalist, and lastly, Miss Maureen Atuhaire, a student of media studies. You're all most welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much for honoring our invite. So right now we're going to start with the introductions of each guest speaker, and we're going to start with Mr. Brian Chimbugwe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the host of the show. I'm so glad to be a part of this. My name is Brian Chimbugwe. I work with UBC as a presenter, and I dabble as a producer as well. I've been in the field for quite some time, so I'm delighted to be on this panel that is going to discuss a field that I very well know about. Thank you. Thank
you so much for honoring the invite. Miss Patricia? Yes, let's have an introduction.
Thanks to the host for having me here, and I'm Nanda Governessa Patricia, a journalist and also an administrator of creative arts. And I'm glad to be here to share knowledge on the media studies.
Thank you so much. Let's have Miss Irene to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. My name is Irene Namudu Kiza. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. I'm a video editor. I work with Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. And I'm also a parenting coach. I love parenting and motherhood a lot, so I do it all the time. And I'm so excited to be part of this discussion. I'm hoping to learn as well as sharing what I know.
Okay. Miss Maureen?
Thank you, our host. My name is Maureen Atuhaire. I'm an intern student here at UBC, and I will share what I know and what I've learned.
Okay. So we're going to have our first question that is going to be directed to Mr. Brian Chimbugwe. Since you are a seasoned TV producer and you say you are also a presenter, right?
Yeah.
How has the portrayal of children in Ugandan media evolved over the past decade?
Now, when you look at the way we are doing productions lately, gone are the days when the productions probably used to be balanced, where we used to think about the children.
Okay.
These days, we only think about... first of all, when you look at the background of journalism, you're supposed to be setting the agenda for the consumers.
Yes.
As producers or presenters, we are supposed to organize content that is meant to impact the audience. However, lately, what is happening is that the audience is directing us on what to give them. We no longer set the agenda, the audience sets the agenda. Looking at the population of this country, we have over half of the population being a young population.
True.
Unfortunately, when we are packaging our content, we only think about the small percentage of the population and leave out the big population. So you will realize that it has evolved. Gone are the days when you used to have programs for children, specifically for children.
True.
I remember there used to be cartoons.
Yeah, 5 p.m.
And even other programs that were directly intended to impact the children. But now the children are supposed to consume what the rest of the people are consuming. There is nothing specific to the children now. So that is a very big problem, and unfortunately, even the gatekeepers, the people that are supposed to filter what is consumed by the audience, we are also sleeping on the job. Many of, now for example, us the producers, like I told you, we are driven by what the audience wants. So we've gotten off the gatekeeping job, and we are now driven by the pressures of the audience. So you realize the content we produce is content directed to what is trending.
Yeah.
Most of the content that we produce out there, we look for trending things. We look for things that are going to make headlines. Somebody will ask you, who is going to listen to that? Who is going to watch that? You're living a trending story and you're jumping onto something that you assume it is relevant, but to the consumers, they will tell you it is not relevant. So eventually, as a producer, as a professional, you will eventually jump off the track and get on the wagon of what is trending. So when I look at how it has evolved, it has changed to the negative, because gone are the days when we used to prepare content specifically for the children, and now we no longer think about the children. Actually, there are now very few stations that have content for children, and even when they have that content, it is usually for a limited time. I think the only day we have content for children is Saturday. And on that Saturday, it is usually in the morning before the kids go to play. We time them when they are probably having their breakfast. Maybe in the morning they're still in the house. Early in the morning, 7 to 10, we are done. Then we get into our music, which music is nasty as well. So it is not good at all. Gone are the days. We miss those days when the children used to be catered for. We used to cook food specifically for the children. Now the children's food is off the menu.
Now that you've talked about the way that whatever you're preparing is from the audience, whatever the audience wants, Miss Irene, what I'm going to ask you now is, basing on East African region, how does the representation of children in Uganda, how is it different from the other regions? Let me say Kenya, DRC, Tanzania, Sudan. How is it different?
Thank you so much. It's really different because it's not that different because of the trend. So just like what Brian said, gone are the days. Like for us, we grew up knowing actually the schedule of the cartoons. Actually, when you talk about media, we look at radio, TV, and print mainly. And but then we used to know, like during this time, it was maybe SSOMTO, maybe we had this, then we had Kids Corner, and maybe during for the print, we always knew which newspaper had maybe stories from the kids. So we were given the priority, and it felt like we really mattered. So the trend has changed because we seem to be uniform. Now, with the experience I have, when you go to Nigeria, when you go to Ghana, because I've been to those countries, yes. Togo, South Africa, Uganda, we are almost doing the same thing. Okay. Why? You just go on YouTube, you download Cocomelon, you download Just for Kids, yes. And then just go to your kids, like just try to reach out to kids, meet with kids. I mingle with them a lot. Even at home, as I speak, like most of my children, they know this station, and most of these stations, they are foreign stations. They are not Ugandan. They are not Ugandan. So just sit down and think of any local station which has content for children. Apart from Akili, we have Akili, Ubongo, and those are on action. I think 2 stations. We have UBC and NTV, which have such kind of content. And then when you try even to get into the normal programming, you realize that what you see in Kenya, what you see in Uganda, it's almost the same. It's not educative. It's not actually impacting the lives of our children, but rather it's just driving them into a different direction. So nothing's really unique. So whatever is happening mostly in Sudan, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria is almost the same. So we are losing it at this point of our lives.
Now that you've said that we are actually losing it, and from the way even Mr. Brian said, if the thing is going negative, Miss Patricia, I'm going to ask you, have there been any initiatives by the media organizations in Uganda to improve the representation of children, given that from whatever you've heard from Mrs. Irene, from Mr. Brian, everything is going negative? Is there something that the media organization is doing right now to improve?
Some media organizations are trying, because we see there are certain newspapers that have certain booklets or little magazines. Total. There are stories, there are puzzles. And then we also have media stations hosting children on certain shows, but they're still not doing enough. As he said, the media is no longer setting the agenda. It's the audience. They do not produce content that is good for children, or they do not look at the needs. They don't do needs assessment for the children. They just think, okay, maybe they will enjoy this. As she said, people go to YouTube, download videos, download cartoons or animations, and put on what? On TV. We have seen media stations being summoned by UCC because they are showing pirated content. Instead of producing local content that is educative and informative to the children, they are not doing that. So I feel like the media is not doing enough to produce more content that is relevant and is of value to the children.
Now, from your discussion, I've heard that there are less educational programs that are being shown out there. That's actually what Mrs. Irene talked about. Now, Maureen, I'm going to ask you, what role do educational programs and children shows play in shaping the media's portrayal of children in Uganda?
Thank you so much. I think the media has really, really shaped the roles of children in that they consume negative content, and way back when they go back home, their behaviors is portrayed through the television, the radio, the newspapers. The behavior when parents at home teach how they are nurturing children, instead the children relate how their parents are parenting them to the media, consuming negative. So I think the media is really, really just making the role of parenting, I may say, hard.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've
and
seen
complicated.
Peppa Pig,
Yeah.
and I'm like, Anna, is this what TV shows are showing people right now? You listen to what Peppa Pig is saying, and I'm like, Anna, God, something should be changed right now.
Yeah.
And then now that's what I'm going to ask from a parent's perspective, from a father and a mother. I believe you had introduced Mr. Brian and Mrs. Patricia and Mrs. Irene. So now I'm going to ask you, what role do you think social media plays in shaping public's perception of children in Uganda?
Aren't.
No.
Well. It's two-way traffic. I'll say it's two-way traffic. From the positive side of it, we look at media being as a mouthpiece for some issues affecting children. So we've seen we've seen stories, and we've seen some feature stories. We've seen some programs where there are some people who are coming up to fight for the rights of their children. Yeah. We've seen children being tortured, being affected. By the way, in some countries, it's illegal for a parent or a guardian to put a kid on social media if they are below 18 years.
Which country is that? Because right now on TikTok, everyone is open.
Yeah, because I've seen, there are some parents I've seen, they will be like, okay, a case in point, let me talk about Natalia Ozzy. She's a Ugandan. She was like, one day they asked her, why are you not posting your children? You a media personality. Why are you not doing so? She was like, I want my child to grow up and make a decision of her own. Because in some countries, when I post Ivy, if Ivy maybe complains to Brian, I don't like this, or they bully those children.
True.
Some of those children, they lose self-esteem just because they saw them on social media. Maybe it can be like family content or kids content, like fully engaged in social media. Also them doing something. So when my daughter Ivy complains to Brian in some countries, Brian can take me to court. I'm violating the rights of my children, but we don't have such regulations so active in Uganda. So, but on the other hand, we've seen media helping out, creating awareness, towards child marriage, kids being tortured. There are so many situations we've had where media has really saved the lives of our children, sure. And also they sensitize. But on the other negative side of it, our children spend so much time, our parents are leaving media to nurture their children.
Yeah.
To discipline them and everything. So that's why you can find a 5-year-old girl who can operate an iPhone or a Samsung, whereby you can't. Because as a parent, you feel like, okay, it's your right. Actually, the best thing you can do is to provide each and everything your child needs, but you don't know what exactly they are using those gadgets for. Sure. So some of us parents, they are giving a priority to media to take care of their children. And trust me, media is going to help you take care of your children. That's why we see a lot of nasty and crazy things happening. For us during our time of growing up in the 90s, Oh, I'm a proud nine. So during that time, no, we had our programs. We use parenting is not easy. So you can't say like there is no way I'll come and say like, you know, I'm the best mom, best dad. You today it's working out for you. Tomorrow you feel like you've really done nothing. So we need to know that however much we feel like we are doing this and this and this and feel like it's the right thing, but there is a missing link that we need to bridge. And if we don't do that, we are going to continue blaming the society, because instead of doing their homework, trust me, most of the children spend their time on TV, kazanyo after kazanyo. Your kid can tell you obuzanyo on all stations. How many stations do we have in Uganda? They can tell you from this one to the other.
They even tell you the whole story. I know. You're young. How do you know this?
And when it comes to music,
Oh gosh,
you find your daughter, you be like, oh my goodness, at home I don't listen to this music. How comes my child is doing? Remember, this is a collective responsibility. Sure. If Brian is trying to put up some measures in the home and I'm not going to do it, my daughter is going to teach Brian's daughter the same things Brian is trying to avoid from his home. So most of the time is spent, you know, watching cartoon, watching TV, video gaming and all that, instead of getting involved in things which add up. Do you have family time? We have family councils. Do you have it? Family council, this is where you iron out some issues in the home. You try to bridge, you know, to reconcile your parents, you know, you try to know your children, they try to understand you. You know your roles. Do you engage them in some housework? I know some of you are planned children, but in my home, I don't have a planned kid. You really, you know, that's what's happening, you know, a planned kid. You need to teach your children some values. And if you've never had the privilege of being taught some principles and some manners as we are growing up, it's your responsibility to sit down and wish your children the best. And try to, as a parent, you need to be, you are like, of course, a journalist, you need to be creative. You need to know, what can I do that can make my children stand out, can make my parenting journey, can impact the society. But if we want to go with the trend, trust me, the trend will take us wherever we want to go. And at the end of the day, we'll have the worst generation.
True. Now from my father's perspective, you've heard from my mother's perspective, there was a lot of, you know, anger towards everything. Now from my father's perspective. Now
before I get there, there was a discussion that you were having with Patricia.
Yes.
About how we may probably do something about how
the initiatives that the social media.
Yes. Now, first of all, the content that we have, that we consume. Somebody was mentioning about the little content that we have about children. Unfortunately, all that is imported content. Even the local content that we show people is not Ugandan, is local but not Ugandan. Yes, even the Achilles that you're talking about, the Achilles that you're talking about are not Ugandan. So that means that as a country, what have we put out there? What initiatives are we doing? You asked about the impact of educational programs.
Yes.
Where are they? Where are the educational programs? The only education programs we have are in school. To the level that even in schools, what is consumed has changed. Most of these things, she was talking about things kids learn when she doesn't know where they learn them from. Some of these things are learned from school. But these are institutions where we send our children thinking they are safe there. So you realize that if they don't get it at school, then where else? That means that we need to start developing these, and we need to be deliberate about this. Sure. If we want to change, let us not think that miracles are going to come from heaven and be put in place. We need to plan for these things and be deliberate about it. And if we don't do that, then we are doomed. Now about the social media. When you look at the trends that we are having now, when we talk about children, according to the Constitution, we are talking about people that are aged between 0 to 17. Because when you get to 18, you're now an adult. So we are talking about people that are below 17. According to our education system, a person who is 17 years old, in which class are you? Probably senior 5. Now, those are the people we are talking about. Check all the stations that we have. The reason I'm insisting on television is because television is the only shared media that we have. The rest of the platforms are individual platforms. If I bought a newspaper, it's my newspaper. I read it. We cannot read it concurrently. When I'm reading it, you can't read it. Not until I finish it and hand it over to you. TV is the one that we consume together. Gone are the days when we used to consume radio. Radio is now, we're gone. The only time people listen to radio probably is when they're in their cars, and maybe people that are seated there and they're doing whatever they're doing from the comfort of their places. But children no longer listen to radio. Their most attractive media is TV. Now that means that if we are planning on the content that we need to change, we need to tap TV, because they love TV so much. Can we revise the content we show on TV? Then the other thing, we are talking about people that are 17, 16, 15. Now these ones know how to use phones. When we were in the lockdown, the trend of studying online and using phones came down from campuses to high schoolers. So that means this age bracket knows how to use phones. Now what do they consume on the phones? And unfortunately on the phones, like I told you that the other one, TV is shared. For the phones, it is individual consumption. I get my phone, I look at it very well, and I make sure nobody gets to know what I'm watching. But what am I consuming there? We want to thank the content creators that have tried to put some ways of maybe preventing, designing packages for the children. But again, who is helping these children to make sure that they consume what they have to consume? Somebody was talking about exposing children on social media. Even in the media, in the mainstream media, when they are training you, they tell you that for a minor to be exposed in the camera, you need to seek the consent. That's why you see, even if I'm covering content out there in the field, I'll show the adult, but for as long as there is a minor, I have to protect the minor. But where are the regulators? Because people are not following this. And who is there to bring us back to order? The regulator. But where is the regulator? And now social media, because there is no qualification for becoming a blogger or creating content on social media, there are no standards. So everybody wakes up, they open up their channel, they start creating their content, and nobody regulates. And now after creating the content, unfortunately, the non-regulated content is the most consumed content. You get it? Because they know how to market their content, they know how to make it appealing to the people that they are targeting. So eventually we find our children consuming this, and after consuming this, it becomes very hard for us to now put them back to order, because as parents allow this or reject it, we no longer have time for the children because of the busy schedules. The van picks the kid as early as 5 or 6. It brings back the kid as late as 5. I'm still here producing content or producing shows and stuff. I get at home at 10. I find them sleeping. Then in the morning, the only thing I can do is prepare them and say bye-bye. Then the only time we have to meet is over the weekend. Look at the weekend. So you realize that the people that have to put these people right are the helpers that we have at home. Somebody was talking about Buzanyo. The people that are training these people kazanyo after kazanyo are the helpers. Because now the helper is not going to consume any educational content on the TV. They don't need it. So what they need is kazanyo, and once the kazanyo is there is no way they are going to chase away the children. They'll sit with the children, they consume the content. After consuming the content, what they use the content for after, you cannot have control over. Thank you.
So Atwaire, as a student, who do you think is to blame for not having enough content in the media for children?
I may say maybe the program managers, and also, let's go back home, the parents.
But you've listened to Mr. Brian, you've listened to Miss Irene. They've said they have busy schedules. And even as a producer, I said, we have to listen to the audience. Right now, they're producing for what the audience wants.
Yes, but for the parents, I think they should not rely more on the media to raise their children. Just because it is the trend that, even at schools, it is trending that the media is the one raising the children. If I am a parent, I should not rely on the media. And there are other means of me raising the children for them not to consume the bad content. But then when it comes to media houses, it is a little bit tricky. But then they need to figure out and get programs for children suitable for them, really.
The people that are supposed to help us bridge the gap, you see, media houses are businesses. And when you open your business, you want to make money. So where are the advertisers? Where are the viewers? That is my question. Because if I open a media house, I want to know where are the viewers and where are the advertisers. So if I realize that there is a lot of viewership in entertainment and there is a lot of sponsorship there, that means I will be very strong there and ignore the rest. Now what we need to do is, can we find the people that have interest in what is lacking? They should come out and give a hand, because there's a lot of airtime on TV, in the print and what. So the people that are interested or that feel concerned, especially maybe the regulators and maybe the government, should come in, because we are talking about the government to come in, but let us look at the national broadcasters as well. Are they coming out to show that the content they have caters for the 50% population that we are talking about? Because the children we are discussing make 50% of the population. So as a national broadcaster, if we checked your logo from morning to evening, and we checked out for the content you give the people, is it aligning with the population? So if you find that there is a problem, that is where the problem starts from. So what we need to do, we need to get back on board. Let us interest people. We make a case. We show people that actually the biggest population is dying. It is going away. What do we need to do? What we need to do is let us sponsor this airtime, because less people are interested in those things. So, which means if the media house cannot waste its airtime on that, can we lobby for sponsorship, for people to pay expensively for that airtime, such that at least we have these programs on air? Okay, if we don't have the sponsors, the fact that the national broadcaster has the airtime free of charge, can it use that airtime to make sure at least it bridges the gap that is brought up by the other competition?
Before we go any further, as Brian was sharing with us, there is a word that I think we sometimes leave out. So it's being intentional. So when you're intentional about something, you know how to handle an issue. You know how to solve a problem. Now, most of these like our viewers will always be, just like he said, they will always be attracted to something. There's like the potential in something. Now, there is no way like we can say that we love children, we care for them when we speak in corridors. But as we people in media, it's our primary responsibility to make sure that we prioritize these children. So when you look at the government area of interests, like most times they'll be like, we need content in ICT, in agriculture and all that. Children should be a priority in this case, and we should be intentional about it. Yes, we want to we want to generate revenue from it, but the most important thing is to cater for the needs. It's about meeting the needs of our children. And something I know about learning and teaching is, when you are teaching something, you don't teach a lesson, but you meet the needs of your students. If you want to teach a lesson, you teach it, and everyone will come out blank. At the end of the term, at the end of the semester, how many passes will you have? How many first class results will you have? That's because you did what? You taught lessons. But if you want to meet the needs of your students, the needs of your people, your employees and all that, you need to know where the area of interest is. And that makes you intentional about delivering what is needed. So most of this content we see on TV, it's about delivering. Atukoleo content wabana abato. But what are your intentions? Because abambaga bane kankoleo shoye somelo where we have children, they sing, they dance. Of course, when you go there is a envelope, there is a message on your phone. But is it really impacting? Like me, there's most of those shows I don't waste my time, because even the songs are from those schools, they make no sense. They don't make any sense. I want content when my Ivy sits on TV, she'll be like, wow, mommy, today I learned this.
But not all songs. Songs from Bodo SS have a lot of...
Yeah, of course, and
from
many of
Bodo
them.
Bodo SS has very
yes.
good, very good songs.
Because now...
They should listen to them.
Okay, you should, like I said, most of the songs. Like, gone are the days, but we used to have those songs actually written by Posaka. You know, you could listen, you know, Edembe, you see all those things, and yes, you really pick a leaf from it. But you want content where these children are fully engaged. And trust me, if you do it, sponsors will come on board.
There's a time to get a new concept.
Yeah, actually they will come on board. We need to really engage the children. We have age groups. We should be planning content according to age group. Don't expect my 15 years or 15 months old twins to consume the same content with Ivy of 5 years. So we need to plan according to their needs. We plan according to their needs. And then at the end of it, we do the survey and see where is the are we progressing or are we retrogressing. Then from there, we'll say, okay, media is doing something good, or we are just wasting time.
This has been such an insightful discussion that we had for now. So right now we are going to head on a break, and next up we are going to listen in on how media has really affected the well-being of the children and the legal framework that is there in Uganda to govern the children's rights, plus how effective it has been. I remain your host, Elizabeth Kisaka. Thank you. Welcome back from the break, and this is Elizabeth Kisaka with the TIG Vibration Agenda. The theme of the day is, has the media represented the children well in Uganda? We had our guests, that is Mr. Brian Chimbogwe, Mrs. Irene Namudu, Miss Patricia Nandago, and Miss Maureen Atuhairi. Welcome back from the break.
Thank you.
So we had a heated, discussion before where everyone was stating their facts and all. So right now I'm going to ask the student of the media studies. From what Mr. Brian said before, the media has not been representing the children ethically right, or actually accurately representing them. Who is to blame?
Yes, thank you. I think the media is to blame. That is one. Also, the government is to blame because the government has more authority to the media. So if the government puts out programs for children specifically and implements them to the media specifically for the children, I think that would work.
You say the government is the one to blame. Are there any legal framework or laws that are there to actually protect the children? Miss Patricia.
There are. We have the Children's Act 2016, and that act is there to make sure that the content that is produced, that the media is regulated with the content that they produce for children. Is it educative? Is it informative? Does it have anything that is vulgar, that is not appealing to the children? We do have such laws in Uganda, but they are not really followed not a lot of effort is put in place to
So
make
why
sure
are they
that
not
this
effective?
that's supposed to be answered by the regulators, because there is the media council that is supposed to regulate how journalists produce content for the country. So if the regulators do not come in to put force on the media houses, then the media houses are going to do what pleases to them, or they're going to follow the agenda of the public, and they forget, yes, we are here to serve the public, yes, but that does not mean that we forget what we are supposed to do, because we are supposed to do the watch the grow as the journalists. We are also supposed to make sure that the content that we are producing is informative and educative, not only entertaining, that we have to jump onto trending stories. So if the regulators don't come in to put enough force on the media houses that you're violating this law, and they put penalties in place that are actually followed, because the penalties are there but they're not being followed.
So now I'm going to ask the producer, how can we make those laws be effective, given that they are currently not being effective? How can we make them effective?
Maybe before I even get to the laws, I want to crucify this campus because the campus is denying. When they asked her who is to blame, I expected her to point fingers at herself. These campuses are.
Can you say I'm the one to blame?
Really? She was supposed to do that because we already talked about who sets the agenda here. The campuses are setting the
This
agenda.
is what we want.
What do they want
true.
to consume? They want to consume the nonsense. So who do we produce the nonsense for? The campuses? And when we consume, do they appreciate? Yes, they do. So what we do, we package it for them.
You try to meet their needs.
And when they consume, they appreciate. And now they are saying
that
the
you're not
government is
doing
to blame.
enough.
But then again, campuses, remember we say children from 0 to 17. But campuses are above.
No, there are those who are so.
No, you see, when you talk about the children, do you know why we brought the campus on set? Yes. To represent, because she's near the children.
And she's still under her parents' care.
She is not even far away from the age bracket that we're talking about. Because what makes her is this other age that she has just left. So when you talk about who is to blame, the generation is to blame as well. You see, when we made ICT compulsory in schools and what, the intention was to sharpen these people to be ready for the trend that we are heading to, the technological trend that we are in. But what did they choose to do? They chose what works for them. Yet the ICT is big. So even the content,
no, Brand, before we go in further, yes, we are all partially responsible. Yes. But then, as the media, there is a time we had a content committee, and we had that content committee at Star TV, at UB Star TV. So we just realized that there was need to produce certain content to our audience because we have a mandate to deliver certain content. Yeah. So
had you not had the mandate?
No, when I look at this, like when I look at my duties and responsibilities, I just take myself back to being a parent. If you are the head of the household, these children don't tell you how to treat them.
So it's not them to blame.
It's not actually your role. Blame. Okay, this is what makes my children happy, but then this is good for them. So it's our responsibility to really take part and know, this is what they need, but we can channel them in a way of liking what is good for them.
But also children can pretend in your presence.
Yeah, they can pretend, but
like her children do in her presence.
No, my children don't pretend. I know exactly what they can do and what they cannot do.
All our children pretend.
Your child,
but then I said that I just they'll be like, I want to eat rice today. Like, you've been eating rice and rice is good, but no to channelinge kuchi kumatoke. So you really help the children to get back to track.
As a TV editor, how much content are you editing for the children?
I don't have any content for the children.
You know why?
That's why I'm saying it actually we are to blame more than the consumers.
No. The reason you don't have the content that
it's because we are not producing that content. We don't see the need to give them the content.
No, you see the need, but you don't have the.
We don't have the desire.
The reason we are not
even if there's some content, even like you can do it without actually waiting for the big budget. You see, you can just like Ss Omuto. She knows like, oh, this is the kind of content we need for the children, and she delivers. So now the question is, Brian, have you ever thought or went to the PD's office or and been, I have this idea for the children, I think we can do this. If you've not done it, means like you are also not what? You are not willing.
That's what I'm telling you. The reason
these ones
we
make them like something.
No, you don't make them like something. Let me tell you, all the content that they have to consume is out there, and they choose what to consume. This internet, the social media, has a lot of content. Even the notes that they do in class.
You rather go with the minority instead of going with the majority.
And even the notes that they do in class, uploaded on the internet. When they go there, what do
which of course we need the digital era, okay? Because it is a some work, but then we cannot run away from the traditional way of doing things.
We already ran away from the traditional way of doing
you have
no,
the entire generation has.
Not indirectly.
Are we still doing things the traditional way? We are no longer doing that.
Yeah, like for me, I still journal using a pen and a book. It's a traditional way. I don't use my notepad.
Probably you go to Parliament. What is using
they are doing? They are not doing the right thing. I'm a bit busy
now giving out iPads.
They are doing the right thing because you see, when technology advances, whether you like it or not,
change.
Yes, you have to change.
But
what we need to also agree, as much as we are crucifying ourselves, we have to crucify the pressure group. And the pressure group.
No. The parents are really to blame.
Thank you.
Because how are you parent? Which mode are you using to parent your children? If you're letting them to watch TV, to consume social media, you are to blame, because whatever they will pick, it's what they will put on in practice.
But
so the parents are really to blame 100%.
Patricia,
to what extent?
No,
But
we
to
should-
what extent? To what extent?
To a larger extent.
Considering the way you've been nurtured,
Yes.
what percentage of nurturing do you have that came from your parents?
80%.
No. That's a big lie.
Seriously,
Because
80%.
most of the time,
I was not in boarding school.
look here.
Parents
Most
that
of the
always
time,
there.
given the trend now, our children are in our hands the least.
how much
time.
percentage do you deliver?
I mean,
As a father, yes.
as a father, I deliver. Actually, I have very little time to deliver what I have to deliver. I'll give you the percentage, but what I can
You're a
tell
busy
you
father.
is, yes, I am
But-
a
and a
busy
provider.
father, but I use the little time I have to do what I have to do.
something.
However, I cannot tell you that that's enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, it's
not enough. And the reason it is not enough is because of the trend. Things have changed.
Life, you have to work
But you
hard.
can change the trend. As a parent, change the trend.
How
on
can I
how.
change
Yes.
the trend?
Here you said that even if a parent does right and goes by the book, your children are not with you full time. They're in school. So
Boarding.
Brian's kids may not be well brought up, and they mingle with your children,
Yeah.
and they're going to change things. They're going to pick up characters and habits from Brian's children. So I don't want her to say that parents should be blamed 100%.
She
There's
said 20, actually,
She said 80% is from her parents, but
Yeah.
parents are to blame 100%. for what
Actually,
is-
it's not
Given-
all about.
given
Actually,
the
we have
formal
so many
education
like
now,
shareholders
that is
in
no
this
longer
whole
possible.
thing. We have the parents, we have the children, we have the teachers,
teachers,
we have our
the
house
community,
managers,
and the
the
internet.
community.
we
So
talk
we
about
just
the house managers. Those ones, good. I feel like they have really spoiled everything right now.
Because nowadays
Not
the
all
house
of them.
managers are young.
Not all of them.
They no longer bring
Brian has
elderly
a
women.
very good experience with the house managers.
We're taking care of that because most of the stories I've heard about house managers.
He was the
taking care of
first
that.
person who mentioned house managers.
Because the households that currently are there.
No, just like what Brian said, like as parents, some parents tend to be busy.
True.
Other parents, like they are just busy. Like, of course, life cannot allow them to do what. So even there are those parents actually who are, you see a wife at home, a mother at home with a house help, or all two house managers. And then everything, Sarah, do me this, do me that, they just don't care much. All they care about is being called a mother, overseeing things, slaying around, watching TV, ABCD, and leave the children to the house manager. By the way, you see, Brian he's a father. He might be having little time to spend with the children, but yet he knows the children more than the mother who is always at home.
Considering that depends on how close you are,
Exactly.
the relationship that you have with
How
the
free
children.
are your children
You
with
see,
you?
the problem with the media or the social media that we have today, it has created a gap between the children and the parents. You see, you come from here, you
Abana,
go
you
home,
buy them
and then
tablets.
you be there, you're on your phone, and the kid is on their tablet, and then the mom is also the other side, and
On
then
their
the house
phone.
help
Everyone
is
on their
also watching
phones.
Kazanyo. So there is no chemistry and there is no time of bonding. But if we could use the trends very well, probably it could be better. Talking about the house helps, you see, the house managers, we shouldn't even be blaming
We
them,
need them.
They're
because
just there to support
what
the
are they
children.
supposed to do? Are they supposed to help you nurture your child?
No.
They are not. Did you bring them to do that? You're failing
just
to do
brought
your
them
job,
for
and then
support.
you're hiring
parents
them.
leave them to nurture their children, and you see what happens afterwards. Is that
We just bring them
They
to
spend
help.
much of the time
Actually,
with the children more than the
True.
parents.
and that is the reason why the education system today is coming in to probably bridge the gap. You make sure that the kid comes back late. The reason we want them to come back late, because we don't want them to spend a lot of time in the hands of the house helps. So they come as late as 5, such that
As
they are
approaching,
there as I also leave work to come and meet them, such that by the time I get there, they've just arrived, maybe they've just showered, they're having their dinner, and then I come in and I start from there.
Now, we know we have talked about all this mess, and there's a point I heard Mr. Brian talking about commercialization of the media. So can we talk about how that is actually influencing all that is happening right now?
Sure. Definitely it has to
Anyone?
influence, because media is business.
It's business.
It's
Your
Content
your sponsors are going to want certain content, and you need to feed off your sponsors.
How can you make it different? I don't know. How can you tell your sponsors that
It's a business. These businessmen and women you see holding some media houses, they invest in. They get loans. You know, they use their savings to invest into what? A radio station and TV station, expecting, of course, and if you invest this is how you are going to do what? To gain revenue from it. And then you get a client over, like it's for Vizigo, you know, we acquire Lusa, or by a herbalist, you know, giving you a good number, a good sum of money. And of course, we know that we come to do what? To get money. So
We need
those
to
people will
represent.
get more airtime than you, who is like, I'm doing children's content, or like I'm doing agriculture. Yes. So
abakazi bebalaba obuzanyo.
yes.
Beba
So
bagula ebizibu.
such content is going to be, because it delivers a good amount of money.
Bagula ebizigo bebeyerusa.
Yes, even this some nabasajja they want to
No, there is also
I surprise, you know, or more.
I just want to know.
So realize that people prioritize things which don't add value to the public. But the fact being that this is a business, for those who have never run a business, you don't just joke around with it. It requires hard work, thinking, and all that. So any penny you invest in your business, it has to triple, or like ezalama goba manji.
Because
So
you have to invest.
there are some media houses that they are known for being commercial. It's about money. Whoever client comes in, they'll be like, and even they'll advertise comfortably, and even get sponsors to sit into those that content. Nenga, when you sit down, like, how are we gaining from this content? But inga the business owner, the media house owner, is really earning a lot of money.
Now I'm going to ask, how can journalists and media producers ensure that, from the conversation we have had, how can you ensure that you're ethically and accurately representing children in the media? Let's start from the children, like from the student perspective, and our journalists. So how can you ensure that?
What do you want us, the producers, to package for?
Well, now you actually
Campus side?
Give us an idea. Even when I'm looking for cutaways, I know. When Brand brings in the content, I know which kind of cutaways.
Assuming I'm
I need.
organizing the program for them, the children,
I think we should be more intentional.
You or the journalist?
The journalists and the media should be intentional, even when the sponsors come in to bring in their programs, and what like what she said, what's the impact? Is it educative?
But then you've heard from Miss Patricia, they're the ones who bring in the money. Someone has invested. How do you tell someone, don't bring in your billion?
That's what I've said, that we should be intentional a little bit.
But then how can you be intentional? There's a thing of, yes, you're intentional, but how can you actually, I don't know how to, like, yes, there's being intentional, but how can media, or let's actually talk to a producer, how can the media producers be intentional in whatever they're going to produce to represent the children?
Yeah, now we need to bana batuvuga speed mwagala tukole ebintu byerabire, because you see, when you're producing these things, you have to consider the target audience and what is demanded out there. Now, as producers, we need to be more creative. We need to mind the way we package our content. Lately, when you compare the programs that are out there, the most time-consuming productions, the ones that you look at and be like, oh my God, this guy has invested a lot of time in making this production. They are not intended for kids.
It's cautious.
When you're making a show for the kids, you be like, but wait, they after all,
they are
kids after all. So you don't take a lot of time while producing such content. So what we need to do, she has talked about being intentional. We need to sit down and be like, Banang, the people we are producing this for are the generation that is going to be here tomorrow after us. So after being intentional, we should invest a lot of time in how we package, because now we've gotten to know that the people we are packaging for are people that don't want what we are packaging them for. You see, you have a kid, you know they need the food to grow, but they don't want to eat. And yet they have to eat. So you have to devise a means of making sure when the plate of food is here, there is a toy here. Then you tell them kateka mwa mafuta. In putting mafuta, they have to do what? To eat the food. When they eat, then they eat. So that's what we need to do. As we are packaging, we have to be very creative. What catchy things can we put in the production to make sure, and okay, they will be there and sit and they'll be like, okay, I didn't want to watch this thing, but munang, when I watched, so eventually they'll be back tomorrow and they'll be like, you put the other thing. There is the other kid that plays like this. Then eventually you realize that they will start liking the content in mpola. But also we need to also make sure that what we have, even the other productions that are not meant for kids, they should not also trespass on the good work that we've done. Because me, I will waste my time packaging this production very well to impart a lot of knowledge. Then Irene is there editing. As soon as my program signs out, then eventually the kid will be like, then they will get onto this one. So we have to be on the same page. As I package this one, as much as
program lineup, should be like
well organized.
Because after my program,
complementing
it is assumed that the kid is still on TV. So why would you have my program sign out and immediately signs out? Then you have your nasty thing. So that means that you're putting me at the campaign.
Now my question is going to be, these things that we've been talking about, the nasty things, how have they affected the well-being?
So before we go in further, we need to really kind of like digest the last point he made. Like, it also has to go back to the program lineups from different stations. You really need to sit down and you'll be like, okay, this is the kind of content we have, and this is our audience. How best are we going to put it out there to deliver it? Because most times you find yourself after maybe watching news, then you get into a musical show. So after a music show, then you get into a health show, you know, and then you realize that things are really not adding up. So you are not like, I'm old enough, but I'll still be confused. I'll be like, oh, now who is the programs manager? Who are in charge? What's the committee in charge of this? So however much we are committing ourselves to have intentional, well-delivered content, then we should revise our running orders. And with that, it will be good to go and will make a huge difference in the shortest period of time.
Okay. Now I was talking about how has their mess actually affected the well-being, because from whatever we've been talking about before, we talked about the positive and how we can do it. How has it actually been affecting, the children and the development of the children right now, whatever we've been showing? Now let's listen to that. Yes, from the journalist actually and the student. Whatever has been showing, how do you think it has actually been affecting the children?
Okay. we have now gotten children that are less interactive with their mates. Or if they're
introverts,
exactly. I prefer being alone. I don't want to mingle with other people. But what are they doing on their gadgets while they are alone? We have seen parents and their children getting distant. A child is not going to be able to approach their parent when they have a problem. They're going to run to their gadget and
post online.
No, not even. But some of them like, Mr. Google, how to do this, how to go through this, how to
how to go through a breakup. How, like, my mother has angered me. Like, instead of you sitting down, mommy, I don't agree with this.
People post, my mother has done this to me today. What do I do? Then people begin giving you wrong advice. Don't talk to them. And you be like,
they'll tell you ghost your parents.
Yeah.
But now, how do you ghost someone who understands you, someone that cares for you, someone that the one person, leave alone carrying you for 9 months. Because there are those ones that carried for 9 months, but they don't actually care. But this one actually cares. Without you expressing how you actually feel about something, how will they offer you help and assistance? So we are having children that are even actually less creative and innovative than they should be.
So with that, let me share something briefly. There is, I know the family, they are well off. So this past holiday, a senior 2 student came to me like, hey, Mom Ivy, you see my report. And this is because there is a gap between the parent and the children. She got a 17 in her PO results, and she felt like the parents are like, they don't care. She really performed poorly. How could she give them such results? They took her to Gombe SS. So I was lucky enough to be close to this girl. She came to me with 2 report cards, and it's heartbreaking. She was like, help me with the stapling machine. I'm like, what are you going to staple? She's so open with me. She tells me everything, whether about boyfriends and everything. She comes to me. Not even the mother, not even the father. So she feels like she's really not important at home. Can you imagine, with her report card, she had D1 in Islam, but the rest of the subjects, the original report card, 9, 8, 9, 8, 7. And then she was like, but I gave Mommy this one, and Mommy's so happy. The report card she gave to Mommy, it had D2, D1, 3, and all that. I'm like, come, we have to see it. She was like, my parents only care about paying my school fees, and if I don't perform better,
they want to
my pocket money, because every time they are leaving home, as if they are going to, they are having a new stock, of eats and everything. So they really pack for them, and they give them a good amount of money. I like, come, we talk about it. She's like, you're the only person who understands. So we parents, we tend to really breed that, we really have to, we put up that link. And on her, when she was going back to school, she was like, I'm going to school, but I don't care about what comes up. After all, I'll copy, all else I'll bring a report. So she went back to school with the original report and gave the original copy to the owner. Now, this is what parents are doing. And I really felt so bad because even after everything, like, parents don't see this. They really don't see it because all the children have phones. And the father is very busy WhatsApping business, the mother, and then the children, all of them. The daughter will be like, hey, Daddy, my data is finished. Like, oh, please get this 20K load. And the parents are very, very convinced that these children are doing homework, holiday package. And they don't, actually, they have never seen any copy of the past papers. And this is how fast parents, we tell ourselves we are progressing. And that gap, it's going to grow, and even our children's children will face the same problem. And sometimes I feel like in our community, like I'm really having that relationship with children. And another children, she was really going through depression because she missed out school. She lost her dad. She couldn't go back to school. And the mom was like, but Nalongo, do you mind if you talk to my daughter? It feels like she's really proud of you. She loves you. I called her, Rachel, come, we talk. We talked for like 3 hours. And at the end of the day, her problem was very simple. I feel bad that I'm going to repeat senior 2. And the mother didn't know the problem, but this girl, she had lost weight, she was becoming sick, and we talked about it, and now we see she's very happy about it. She's like, wow, I'm very confident, life is like this. So we really need to get engaged with our children.
So what should be done? What should parents now do? What would you advise parents to right now do?
How, just like what Brian said, we might have little time. Like for me, I'm lucky that I grew up with both my parents and they are still there. Even right now, when things are really getting tougher, I call my dad, I call my mom, and we talk about it. Even when my dad is going through issues, he'll be like, oh, my children are my greatest, source of, comfort. We talk about this. We should find ways of creating that bond. We need to bond with our children. Find activities that can help you to bond with your children.
Okay.
No longer you have like just 30 minutes in a week to be with your children. Spend that, tell them you love them. Tell them you are proud of them. Tell them you have made a mistake. I'm punishing you for this. But it's out of love. Be that friend that your child needs. And I feel bad that most of our children in our locality, they confide in me. Like, I just feel so bad. And most of the parents, and the other boy was like, I'm sorry, I want to be, I want to stop in senior 4, but my parents don't listen to me. And he's very good with, putting wires together. He's very good in that. Until I'm like, you know what, Mama Jonah, allow this boy, he's very good in this. And the mom was like, are you sure? I'm like, he can get some good man out of it. So we need to find ways of bonding with our children. Those small things can help us to bond with our children. It's not easy, but we can try our
best. Time and effort.
Mr. Brian.
Maybe the other thing that we need to look into is the fact that as much as we've handed over the children to third parties to help us nurture them, but there is that vacuum that we need to fill as parents. So if you don't fill that vacuum,
someone else will fill it for me.
Some other
Very
person
true.
will come and fill that vacuum
In a way that you will not like.
So whatever they fill that vacuum with, you may not know. So what we need to do, whichever time we have, however little it is, to bond with the children, to nurture these children, we should do that. We've left the responsibility for the teachers, for the phones, for the content creators.
Neighbors.
So we and then the other thing, now that the media, we've all agreed that the media is impacting. We've agreed that the social media is impacting. How can we influence these platforms to make sure that the most dominant content there is relevant and educational? Because if we task ourselves here to look for handles that have educational and relevant content, now even if we made it deliberate, look for content that is relevant to the children or the youth, you look for the content and you won't find it. And even the little you'll find it has no following. People don't watch it. So that means the most trending content and the most viewed content is the content that instead does the destruction. So what we need to do is, whatever time we have, let us be positive with the children.
Bond with them.
Let's bond with them. You've talked about words of affirmation. Those are very, very good words. Because for you, as you're not doing the affirmation, some other person is there putting your child into a depression. They are telling them the worst of things. They are telling them how ugly they are, and eventually we are having a depressed generation. So what we need to do, we need to have the positive vibes. We need to make sure that apart from us having the positive vibes, let us share this. Let it spread, such that wherever we are, the positive vibes are there. Even if I have a chance, for example, I'm not a content creator, but as I am here, I'm creating content now. So as I'm interacting with a child, I'm already a content creator in front of the child. What content am I creating in front of the child? What am I passing on to this child? Am I putting the child down, or I'm helping motivate them or something? I'm already a content creator in front of them, but what am I creating? So it should be a responsibility of each and everybody, whatever chance you have, to make sure that at least you spread the positive gospel.
We have had a very good discussion today, and I feel like we haven't even exhausted everything. But then we are going to invite our guest speakers next time to continue with this conversation, and we are going to have our parting shots. First of all, from everyone, thank you so much for everyone to listening to the TIG Vibration Agenda today. We are glad for you to have listened it up to this point. Yes, you're most everyone that's listening in. So at this point, I'm going to invite Miss Patricia to give us her parting shots. 2 minutes. Yes.
Okay, so as we come to the close of this show, I want to ask media people that even when we are creating content, we should remember that the kind of generation that we are creating content for does not have a long concentration span. So we should create content that is engaging but short.
Sure.
That someone can,
Be triggered to watch next time.
Ever since
Sika
shorts
dongo
came
kama.
in and TikTok, people just 1 minute in 15 seconds and it's
And
not attractive.
yes.
They leave.
These guys are visually attracted, but they
True.
still can't concentrate for a very long time. So if we produce content that is very lengthy, we are already distracting. We already stopping them from viewing that content. Remember, we are producing content that they do not want, but we know they need it.
Yes.
So if we produce it when it's lengthy, it's like we are doing nothing.
Thank you so much for those parting shots. We're going to have Mrs. Irene to give us her parting shots.
Thank you so much. And actually, after today's discussion, I realized that I chose the right passion. The right passion. I find it's so funny. Like, I received an email from Kenya, and I've not shared this because someone wanted me to share the email about what happened. But what you should know that children are going through a lot. And just because of the content, after watching some content, sometimes they feel like they're missing out a lot of things. And others, they're being teased and bullied, and some are committing suicide. I think you've seen this where a kid of Chitebi SS hanged himself just because they told him something at school. The other one just because he felt like the parents were not helping out. So it's a collective responsibility. And that's why I feel like, okay, we need each other. So it's very, very important that we know what to do. And as a media personnel, I'm challenged. I feel like I should go back home and start using my mind and see how best I can talk to my teammates and we come up with the right content for our children. Because you can create content, but when the children's content, but when it's not the right content you need, but prayerfully, we are going to try. For my department, I pledged to talk to my graphics department and try to come up with something to feed our children with.
Should we demand for the content, or
Please,
should we just wait?
please. On Monday, actually, I'm going to post on our WhatsApp group, talk to them, because we've always wanted to come up with some content as a department, but I feel this is a challenge for us. And hopefully on Monday, if we can meet as a department, we can come up with something. We have big minds.
One step at a time, and that's actually something great.
I'll come back and give a report. All you will come back and give a report. After saying that,
it has now. We are seeing positive change. At least feedback. That's the thing. From this discussion, at least we are now seeing everyone being touched. Everyone saying that, you know what, let me wake up and do something. From whatever I've been, from my capacity as a journalist.
Sometimes we just need
a
little tickle.
You be like, this is not okay. But okay, we're going to have from Mr. Brian his parting shots right now. Thank you so much.
Yes, I want to thank you for the initiative. This is a very good initiative. Actually, as we are talking about how the media is impacting the kids and what, this is one of the things that we should be doing. For example, there are so many topics that we would have discussed. Why did we choose this one? So the fact that we have this particular topic as a topic of discussion, that is already a step in the right direction. So I want to thank this platform for giving the youth, and probably maybe next time, given the fact that we have kids that can talk for themselves, the children, they probably maybe they'll come here. Yes, they'll come and represent themselves and tell us how exactly they feel about the media. However, as we part, somebody said we need a little tickle usually, but what happens with people that have just gotten saved? When you've just gotten saved, usually there's the way you
so high.
the way you be like, you see, tomorrow I'm going to be a prayerful woman in the morning, in the afternoon,
the report
in the
will
evening.
be given.
Then eventually you give a deadline of Monday when today is Friday. Are you sure you'll give us
like, on Monday I'll talk to my team and we see what to
but anyway, we shall be glad to have that. But this goes to everybody.
Yes.
The content creators, what are they creating? let it be a responsibility of each and everybody. The campuses, what are you consuming?
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, when you consume, as much as I'm your parent, I'm not the one consuming. As much as you're my child, it's not my life you're messing up. You're messing up your own life. Me, I brought you on earth, and I have a responsibility. But even if I failed on my responsibility, you're going to suffer the consequences. So you also have to sober up. As much as there's a lot of content out there, choose what you have to consume. You must know what your mission is, what your purpose is in this life, because there's a lot of content, but I'm going to consume everything. You choose what you have to consume. Consume what you're supposed to consume. Leave what you're not supposed to consume. Thank you so much.
Actually, when Mr. Brian talked about that, TIG actually has a children and youth sector. So I believe that with whatever we're going to continue with, we're going to have children on board. That's why we're having this discussion actually as TIG. We want to talk more. We're hearing from a parent's perspective, we're hearing from the youth perspective, we're hearing from the child perspective. We don't only want to have one sector, but that's the goal of our TIG. So right now we're going to have parting shots from our students, as of media, the baby.
Thank you so much. I would say parents should create time for their children, for us, because when it starts earlier, it bridges the gap, and there's also less consuming the negative media and also regulating the children, even if they are adults. If it begins way back when you're a child, it really nurtures you even when you're growing up.
Thank you so much from all the guests from the show. Yes, we have listened in on how media shows should be intentional in whatever they're supposed to do. The program lineup should actually be complementary of everything that's going to be. Yes, you may have educational shows, but what's going to happen next? Are you going to have, nasty shows afterwards? So this is a thing that from the discussion we have had, from the journalist, from the producer, from the editor, we have learned that intentionality, first of all, is the key point. Parents should be there so that it minimizes the negativity from the media. You get? So I feel like there's a lot that we have to work upon as the parents, as the children, as the media producers, as the journalists. There's a lot that we have to do. So at this point, from the topic that we had, that has the media represented the children well in Uganda, we have noticed that the media actually has not been representing the children very well. But moving forward, we have had resolutions from people that they are going to try and talk to their people. Moving forward. So I remain Elizabeth, and I'm grateful for this interactive discussion we had today. Thank you.